Do your feelings ever feel so big that they drown out your own voice? What if those waves of overwhelm weren't proof that you're broken, but invitations into your deepest wisdom? Aloha, my beautiful soul. If this is your first time here, my name is May. I'm your neurospicy cyberwitch, here to help you unravel anything witchy, highly sensitive, and ADHD. And today I want to talk to you about all those huge feelings that we have that exist out there, and whether you resonate more with the highly sensitive part of yourself or with the ADHD part. We both have that trait of feeling a lot of big emotions and actually at the same time feeling bad for those, because we've been probably shamed for having too big feelings, not wanting to be too loud, not wanting to so many things, right? I remember there were so many reasons why I didn't want to allow myself to feel something, the moral compass that we run with sometimes, feeling bad for feeling anger. You're not allowed to feel anger because anger is not good, right? Maybe if you're my generation, like we used to start when we started off getting into the whole, spiritual stuff. And I'm not talking about now, because I feel like now it sort of implies that there's so many more livable spiritual sides. But I remember when I did 20 years ago, it was more like, oh no, you have to be love and light if you want to be spiritual. If you don't do that, you're not. So having that side inside of me going like, okay, but I sometimes feel anger and I sometimes have really weird thoughts and really weird emotions running through me, right? And of course, being an empath that I learned at some point, it was like, oh, it's someone else's feeling. So you want to, put it on everybody else. But that way we always detach ourselves and we don't take responsibility for the feelings. Because again, for all of our lives, we've been taught you're not supposed to feel anger. You're not to be loud. You're not supposed to. Why are you crying? That's one of the biggest things that I used to hear as a child a lot. Why are you crying? Stop crying. This is not something to cry out about, right? That was that thing. And then living in a very patriarchy form that we are living in right now, being emotional is like, that's a female side, right? And since we've been taught that you don't want to be too girly, right? You don't want to have that. So you don't want to be too emotional about it. And this is talking, this is me talking growing up as a German person with Chinese ancestors in a Latin American world where emotions are huge, but you had to have the right emotions at the right kind of time. And I feel like, especially my Asian Chinese kind of side, and I'm not trying to put anybody in the boxes, but when it comes to, how do you call them? Stigmas that are somewhere, right? I feel like, part of my ancestral family was taught not to have too many emotions. You're not supposed to be crying. Why are you too loud? You're not supposed to be angry. One thing, is that part. So it's like we have been taught to deny our own emotions. And I'm sorry for every Asian that I just mentioned, for my side, I felt like that's the cultural side within myself. I feel like this is something that belongs to any kind of culture. It's about the values that your family has had. And I feel like it doesn't matter what culture you're from, because yes, some have it stronger than others, but in the end, we all suffer, and I'm going to call it suffering. We all suffer from this, that we live in a world where we gaslight ourselves because we have been taught that emotions are not so good. You're not supposed to be emotional, especially for us women out there, right? And female born and raised. Same as men. I feel very sorry for some men as well, because I know that some of them, like as a man, you're not allowed to cry. And then there's so many other reasons why men are not allowed to show emotions. And then for us as women, we're not allowed to have emotions because that's weak. Everybody finds reasons why emotions are not good. And for us sensitive ones, we feel them all. We feel them from anybody. We feel our own. We feel everything. And that's when we go into a huge overwhelm. And that's why I want to talk about today about the importance of allowing ourselves to feel the feels, to feel the feelings, to feel the emotions. Because, from everything that I've learned throughout my whole life, I feel that whenever we we're not allowed to feel a feeling, either because we didn't allow ourselves or because someone else didn't allow us, it becomes part of our package. Sort of, we start carrying it like stones in our backpack. Another stone. Oh, don't be angry about this. Okay, another stone. Oh, I started my spiritual journey when I was 18 years old. And I remember, the first couple of things that people were telling me that I'm not allowed to. So I'm not allowed to have all those feelings. Okay, another thing. You're not allowed to be angry because everything has to be love and light. If you want to be that, you have to be peaceful and love and light. Okay, there it goes. Another anger, another sadness. I remember when a very dear person in my family died that I felt like being sad and mourning their death was selfish, that I wasn't allowed to do that because it would have been selfish. So I didn't allow myself to mourn. You know how many stones I put that in my backpack because of that? That was a hard one. So that went in there, right? And so that's how we build that backpack. And then we wonder that from one moment to another, we explode into all kinds of emotions, right? Because that backpack gets full. And it's like a volcano. Every now and then it just bursts out into our day, and someone will suffer from that. Someone will. So, my plea to yourself today is to integrate a practice in your life if possible. And here's the tricky part, because I know that a lot of us still want to blame everybody else for our emotions. And yes, I mean, we are highly sensitive, and I'm not denying that there's other people's energies that come into our system, right? And that we feel, but we can't change other people's feelings. So why don't we start by taking responsibility for what we feel? And before you start screaming, bear with me for a second. Let me just explain this, because this is something that I learned and that I feel every empath should know. Every highly sensitive person should know. And because of that, also every ADHD. I believe in the law of attraction. I believe in the law of resonance. And I believe that whatever emotions we feel, that we feel so strongly and that we want to blame on someone else, that emotion, if someone else comes in the room and is hugely, amazingly angry, and we feel that anger, it's only because there's a little bit of that anger inside of us that attracted and that allowed that other person's anger to come dive into my field. So the more that I work on transforming my own beliefs, my own anger, my own sadness, my own, all the emotions that I feel are negative, the more I transform, especially remember the backpack I was talking about filled with stones. The more I learn to release that, to let go of those things, the more I learn to do that, the more it will, release myself. And here comes a truth that I have learned in 15 years of, going through emotions and working on myself. The more I released, the more I transformed, the more I let go of all those weird feelings and emotions. And I'm not going to call them weird. Nowadays, I embrace them actually, because I take full responsibility for any kind of emotions, thoughts, whatever's coming in there. I take full responsibility. I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm not talking about it. This is a path that we are allowed to practice, to embrace. But the more I did that throughout the years, and the more my clients started doing it, when I started working with them and showing them how to do that, the less strong, the less overwhelming, the less, it all became. Because for starters, once you take responsibility for your own feelings and thoughts and everything that's happening in your field, that's actually very empowering. It's scary because, it's easier to say, oh, that's an energy vampire, right there. And they're sucking everything out of me. And, oh, look at that person with their anger, right? It's easier to do that. And I know it's easier in the beginning. It feels easier to do that. On the long run, that is way harder. It's way more exhausting. Trust me, it's way more exhausting because I've done it. But the moment I start doing it, and I know in the beginning it's so hard to get used to practice, and to invite yourself to empower yourself over and over again, to release over and over again, to become aware and to take responsibility over and over again, because it's so scary, right? And I know it's a harder path. It feels like it's harder, but in the end, do you know what it feels like when you see an energy and feel an energy of a room, of a person, and you feel it. It's not like just because you do this work, it doesn't mean that you're just gonna stop, feeling the things. But you know what it is when you have an energy that months or years before would have, gotten stuck in your system and made you go angry or made you go sad and depressed. But instead of all of that, you actually, it's like you're watching that energy come into your space and you see it and it starts passing by you and you're like, oh, I feel it. I see it, but it's not bothering me anymore. Why? Because I worked on it within myself. I transformed it and I can now see it. I can see it pass by, but I don't have to feel it in that way as I used to. And this is something, that feeling, when you get that, when you see that, is one of the best ever when you're actually ready instead of diving into and basically I'm going to say it a little bit saying it candid, no, blunt. I think the right word will be blunt, saying it very bluntly. That feeling when you see that, when you don't allow yourself to be a victim of everybody else's energies, but instead of being the victim, you stand in your power and you say, this is mine and it's not nice right now and it's not a great feeling right now, but I'm going to feel it because I want to get to the bottom of this and I'm going to be the observer and I'm going to transform it. So as for today's episode, if you can have one takeaway, I hope it is that on one hand, allow yourself to observe the feelings that are coming there instead of just packing them away. And on the other hand, how it's going to help you to become aware, to take responsibility for what you feel, what your thoughts are. With that said, my beautiful soul, if you want to go dive deeper, if you want to be in the circle, come and join me on a very, very special circle for the next new moon that we're having out there. It's a very special new moon because it's going to be combined with a solar eclipse. I haven't checked where you can actually see it this year, but I know it's there and it's going to have its energies. And, I figured instead of doing something like this by yourself, why not do it in a circle with like-minded people? So if you feel like it, come join me on September 22nd. I know we're doing it a day after the whole eclipse, but I've checked it date-wise. It's good. It's especially good to call in some beautiful things and again to release. So I hope that if this resonates with you, if you feel like, hey, I want to go and join a group, come join my Cyber Coven. I'll put the link down below. If you feel like joining us on September 22nd, I would love to have you there. And with that said, my beautiful soul, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, let me know in the comments how it resonated with you, what your aha moments were. And I hope to see you next time for the next episode. Until then, my beautiful soul, give yourself as much grace as possible. We are all humans after all.